The Korean Mafia boss was seconds away from leaving when a black waitress said, "Don't go. Your driver has a gun." What the Korean Mafia boss did next stunned everyone. The espresso machine hissed, drowning out most conversations in the small cafe. But Nia Morrison had learned to listen between the noise. 6 months working at Moonlight Brew in downtown LA's Koreatown had taught her that the quiet conversations were always the most dangerous. And the man sitting alone by the window, the one with the dragon tattoo crawling up his neck and disappearing into his expensive collar, he was the most dangerous of all. Lee Jun-young. She'd learned his name from the whispered Korean conversations that stopped when she approached tables. Learned he owned half the buildings on this street. Learned that people feared him and respected him in equal measure. And learned over the past 6 months that he took his coffee black, arrived every Tuesday and Friday at exactly 3 p.m., and never, ever smiled. Today was different, though. Today was December 31st, New Year's Eve, and the cafe was nearly empty. Just Nia wiping down tables, her co-worker Marcus restocking pastries, and Lee Jun-young by the window, staring at his laptop with an intensity that could shatter glass. His usual 2 bodyguards waited outside, one by the black Mercedes SUV, another by the cafe entrance. Nya was refilling the sugar dispensers when she heard it. The bodyguard by the door, the younger one with the scar across his cheekbone, had stepped just inside to escape the cold. His phone pressed to his ear, speaking in English, which was her first warning that something was wrong. These men always spoke Korean around her, assuming she couldn't understand. But English meant he wanted to be understood by someone specific. "Yeah, I've got the gun," the bodyguard said, voice low but not low enough. "Silencers attached. The moment he gets in the car, it's done. Clean. Quick. They'll think it was the Southside crew. Payment better be in my account before midnight." Naya's blood turned to ice. Her hands froze on the sugar dispenser. She glanced toward the window where Lee Jun-young was closing his laptop, gathering his things, getting ready to leave, getting ready to walk straight into an execution. The bodyguard, she'd heard the others call him Ricky, ended the call and stepped back outside. Through the window, Nia watched him exchange words with the other guard. Casual, normal. Like he wasn't about to commit murder in the next 5 minutes. Her mind raced. Call the police? And say what? That she overheard a conversation that might be about a crime that hadn't happened yet, involving a man who was definitely a criminal himself? By the time they arrived, Lee Jun-young would be dead. Tell Marcus, her 19-year-old co-worker who thought gangsters were cool and would probably just freeze? No. This was on her, and she had maybe 2 minutes before Lee Jun-young walked out that door. Nia grabbed the coffee pot and moved toward his table, heart hammering so hard she could hear it in her ears. Lee Jun-young looked up as she approached, dark eyes assessing her with the same intense focus he gave everything. Up close, she could see the details of his tattoo, intricate scales, fierce eyes, smoke curling around the dragon's body. Could see the faint scar along his jawline. Could see that he was younger than she'd thought, maybe 28, with the kind of face that would be beautiful if it wasn't so hard. "More coffee?" she asked, keeping her voice steady. "I'm leaving," he said. His English was perfect, barely accented, his voice deeper than she'd expected. "But thank you." He stood, and Naya's window of opportunity was closing. She did the only thing she could think of. She stepped closer, invading his personal space in a way that made his eyes narrow. Then she leaned in like she was reaching for his empty cup and whispered fast and urgent, "Don't go. Your driver has a gun. He's going to kill you the moment you get in that car." Lee Jun-young went absolutely still. Not the stillness of surprise, but the stillness of a predator that's just scented danger. His eyes locked onto hers, searching, calculating. She watched him process her words, decide if she was crazy or credible, weigh the risk of believing her against the risk of ignoring her. "Say that again," he said quietly, slowly. "The bodyguard with the scar, Ricky, I heard him on the phone. He said he has a gun with a silencer. Said he's going to kill you when you get in the car. They wanted to look like the South Side crew did it. He's getting paid tonight. The words tumbled out in a rushed whisper. Why are you telling me this? His eyes bored into hers. You know what I am. What I do. Some people would throw a party if I died. Because murder is murder, Naya said, and I'm not going to watch someone die if I can prevent it. Even if that someone is, she stopped herself. A gangster? He almost smiled. Almost. You can say it. I know what I am. He pulled out his phone, never breaking eye contact with her. What's your name? Naya. Naya Morrison. Naya. He said it carefully like he was tasting the syllables. Then he texted something rapid fire in what she assumed was Korean, hit send, and pocketed his phone. Thank you for the warning. Now I need you to do exactly what I say. Go to the back. Stay there. Don't come out no matter what you hear. What are you going to? Go. Now. The command in his voice was absolute, but Nia had never been good at following orders she didn't agree with. Instead, she moved behind the counter where Marcus was scrolling through his phone, oblivious. Marcus, go to the back. Lock the door. What? Why? Just do it. Now. And call 911 in exactly 5 minutes. Not before. Exactly 5 minutes. Something in her tone must have gotten through because Marcus grabbed his phone and disappeared into the back. Naya stayed behind the counter, low, watching. Lee Jun-young walked to the door with the casual confidence of a man who owned the world. He stepped outside and Naya's heart stopped. Through the window, she saw him approach the Mercedes. Saw Ricky open the back door with a smile. Saw Lee Jun-young pause, then turn slightly, saying something to Ricky she couldn't hear. Then everything happened at once. Lee Jun-young moved with a speed that didn't seem human. His hand shot out, grabbing Ricky's wrist, the hand reaching inside his jacket, and twisted, hard. Nia heard the crack of breaking bone even through the glass. The gun, yes, there it was, a black pistol with a silencer, clattered to the sidewalk. The other bodyguard moved to intervene, but 3 black cars screeched to a stop around them, disgorging men in dark suits. Lee Jun-young's reinforcements. They had Ricky on the ground in seconds, the other bodyguard backing up with his hands raised, shouting in Korean that he didn't know, he wasn't part of it. Lee Jun-young stood in the center of the chaos like the eye of a storm. He picked up the gun, checked the chamber with practiced ease, then looked directly at the cafe, directly at Nia, even though she was crouched behind the counter. Even though there was no way he should have been able to see her, he knew she'd stayed. And something in his expression, anger mixed with what might have been respect, sent heat flooding through her, despite the January cold seeping through the windows. His men dragged Ricky toward one of the cars. Ricky was shouting now, begging, saying names Nia didn't recognize. Lee Jun-young walked back into the cafe, and the little bell above the door chimed cheerfully, absurdly normal after what had just happened. I told you to go to the back, he said. I don't take orders well, Naya replied, standing up on shaky legs, especially from people I just saved. Saved? He considered the word. Yes, I suppose you did. He moved to the counter and Naya found herself looking up at him. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with the kind of presence that made the small cafe feel even smaller. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing anyone's done for me in years. Probably stupid, Naya admitted, but I meant what I said. I wasn't going to watch you die. Even though I'm a monster? His tone was light, but something dark flickered in his eyes. That's what they say about me. The ruthless Lee Jun-young, the dragon of Koreatown, the man who— I don't care what they say, Naya interrupted. I know what I heard, and I know what's right. That's enough. He stared at her for a long moment. Then, impossibly, he smiled. A real smile, small but genuine, that transformed his entire face. You're unusual, Naya Morrison. I get that a lot. I need to go. Deal with this situation. But I'll be back. He pulled out a business card, black with silver lettering, and slid it across the counter. That's my personal number. If anyone asks you questions about today, police, reporters, anyone, you call me first. Understood? Naya picked up the card. Heavy stock, expensive. Just a name and a number. Are you going to kill him? Ricky? Lee Jun-young's expression went cold again. Would it matter to you if I did? Yes. Why? Because if I saved your life just so you could take someone else's, that makes me complicit. And I won't be part of that cycle, even for you. He studied her with that unnerving intensity again. You have principles, admirable. Dangerous, but admirable. He moved toward the door, then paused. He won't die, but he'll wish he had. And the people who hired him will learn that betrayal has consequences. That's the world I live in, Naya. It's not pretty. It's not noble. But it's mine. I'm not asking you to be noble, Naya said. Just human. I'll try to remember I used to be. He left then, the bell chiming again, and Naya watched through the window as he got into one of the other cars. The convoy pulled away, taking Ricky and the evidence of attempted murder with them. She looked down at the business card in her hand and wondered what the hell she'd just gotten herself into. Marcus emerged from the back 5 minutes later, eyes wide. Okay, what the actual fuck just happened? I saw guys with guns through the security camera feed. Should I still call 911? No, Naya said, tucking the business card into her apron pocket. It's handled. Handled? Naya, that was Lee Jun-young. Everyone knows I know what he is. She started wiping down the counter, needing something to do with her hands. And right now he's someone whose life I saved. That's all. But it wasn't all. Over the next week, Naya couldn't stop thinking about the man with the dragon tattoo, about the way he'd moved, fast and lethal despite the expensive suit, about his smile, rare and precious, about the darkness in his eyes when he talked about consequences. She researched him on her phone during slow shifts, found articles about his family's import-export business that everyone knew was a front, found photos from charity galas where he stood in tuxedos next to politicians and businessmen, found whispered forum posts about territorial disputes and accidents that befell his enemies. Lee Jun-young was dangerous, connected, powerful. Everything Naya's practical, safety-conscious brain told her to stay away from. And yet she caught herself watching the door every Tuesday and Friday at 3 p.m., wondering if he'd come back. He didn't. Not for a week. Then 2. Naya told herself it was better this way. That she'd done her good deed, and now she could go back to her normal life. Serving coffee, taking online business classes at night, saving money to open her own cafe someday. Normal. Safe. Boring. Then 3 weeks after New Year's Eve, on a Tuesday at exactly 3 p.m., the door chimed. Nya looked up from the espresso machine and her breath caught. Lee Jun-young stood in the doorway, but he wasn't alone. 2 new bodyguards flanked him, older, harder looking than the previous ones, and his neck tattoo was partially covered by a black turtleneck, making him look less like a gangster and more like a dangerously attractive businessman. He walked straight to the counter, ignoring his usual table by the window. Naya Morrison. Mr. Lee. She kept her voice professional, even though her heart was racing. Your usual? My usual. He pulled out his wallet. And whatever you'd like. You're taking a break. We need to talk. I'm working. I bought the cafe. He said it casually, like he was discussing the weather. 2 weeks ago, which makes me your boss. So I'm telling you to take a break. Nya blinked. You bought the cafe? The building, actually. The cafe came with it, along with the dry cleaner next door and the apartment building across the street. Real estate investment. His expression was unreadable. Now, are you going to make our coffee or should I? This is insane, Naya muttered, but she started making 2 Americanos. You can't just buy a building because a woman who works there saved my life? I can do whatever I want, Naya. That's the privilege of money and power. Now come sit. She brought the coffee to a corner table, hyper aware of his bodyguards stationed by the door and window. of Marcus pretending not to stare from behind the pastry case, of Lee Jun-young's eyes tracking her every movement. Why did you really buy this place? She asked, sliding into the seat across from him. Several reasons. He took a sip of coffee, nodded approval. One, it's a good investment. This area is gentrifying. Property values are rising. Two, I needed to ensure your safety. The people who hired Ricky to kill me know you warned me. That makes you a loose end. Fear spiked through Naya. Are you saying I'm in danger? You were. Past tense. I made it very clear that anyone who touches you answers to me, and I made sure the people who hired Ricky understood that starting a war with me over one failed hit would cost them more than they could afford to pay. He leaned back, casual, confident. You're safe now, under my protection. I didn't ask for your protection. No, you asked nothing of me, which is exactly why I'm giving it. Something softened in his expression. You saved my life expecting nothing in return. No reward, no favor. Just because it was the right thing to do. Do you know how rare that is in my world? I'm not part of your world. You are now. He pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. I need someone I can trust to manage this property. Someone who understands customer service, business operations, community relations. Someone who won't skim money or make deals behind my back. Nya opened the folder. Inside was a contract offering her the position of property manager for the building, with a salary that was triple what she made now. This is fair compensation for the skills you have. And Naya? He waited until she looked up. This isn't charity. I'm a businessman. I don't make bad investments. You're smart, hardworking, and you have integrity. Those qualities are worth more than you know. Or this is you feeling guilty that I'm in danger because of you. Can it be both? A slight smile. Take the job or don't. But know that my protection remains either way. You're under my umbrella now, whether you like it or not. Might as well get paid for it. Naya looked at the contract, at the number that would change her life, let her pay off her student loans, maybe even save enough to open her own place someday. Looked at Lee Jun-young, this dangerous, complicated man who'd bought a building to keep her safe. I need time to think about it. Fair. You have until Friday. He stood, and Naya automatically stood too. One more thing. New Year's Eve, the night you saved me. You had plans? I worked until close, then went home and watched the ball drop alone. Why? Because I never properly thanked you, and I owe you a celebration. Dinner, tomorrow night. My treat. Are you asking me on a date? I'm asking you to have dinner with someone whose life you saved. Whatever you want to call it is up to you. He pulled out another card, this one with an address. 8 p.m. Car will pick you up. Dress nice. He left before she could refuse, and Naya sat there holding a job offer and a dinner invitation, wondering how saving one man's life had turned her entire world upside down. Girl, you cannot be serious. Naya's best friend Keisha stared at her over FaceTime that night, eyes wide with disbelief. Lee Jun-young, the one they call the dragon, asked you to dinner? It's not a date, Nia insisted, even though she'd already raided her closet trying to find something appropriate to wear. It's a thank you, professional courtesy. Professional courtesy, my ass. Yeah, this man bought an entire building because you worked there. That's not professional, that's obsessed. He said it was a good investment. And you believed him? Keisha laughed. Honey, I love you, but you're being dense. This man is interested, and not just interested. He's pursuing you with the full force of his considerable resources. Which is terrifying, by the way. He's a criminal, Keisha. Like actual criminal. The things I read online are probably half true and half bullshit. But yeah, he's dangerous. Which brings me to my question. Are you actually considering this? The job? The dinner? Whatever this is. Nia was silent for a long moment. I think I already decided. I just don't want to admit it. Which way? I'm going to dinner tomorrow. The words felt like jumping off a cliff. And I think I'm going to take the job. Because Keisha, when I talked to him today, I felt seen. Like he was actually looking at me, not just the black waitress serving his coffee. He listened. He saw my potential. And yes, he's dangerous, and this is probably the worst decision I've ever made, but you're going to do it anyway. Yeah, I am, Keisha sighed. Okay, then promise me something. You keep your eyes open. You stay smart. And the second this man shows you who he really is, you believe him and you run. Deal? Deal. The next night at exactly 8 p.m., a black Mercedes pulled up outside Nia's apartment building. Not an SUV this time, but a sleek sedan with a driver in a suit who opened the back door for her with a respectful nod. Nia had settled on a deep burgundy dress that was elegant without being too sexy, paired with her good heels and her mother's gold necklace. She felt like she was going to prom and a job interview simultaneously, nervous and excited and slightly nauseous. The car drove through downtown LA, then up into the hills. The houses got bigger, the lots more private, until they pulled up to a modern mansion that looked like something from an architecture magazine. All glass and clean lines and strategic lighting that made it glow against the night sky. Lee Jun-young waited at the entrance, and Nia's breath caught. He'd traded his usual dark suits for black slacks and a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled to reveal forearms marked with more tattoos. Korean characters she couldn't read, geometric patterns, more scales from the dragon that wound around his body like armor. Nia. He smiled, and again she was struck by how different he looked when he wasn't being the dragon of Koreatown. Younger, more human. You look beautiful. You clean up pretty well yourself. She accepted his offered arm, let him guide her inside. The interior was as stunning as the exterior, minimalist but warm, expensive but not ostentatious. Art on the walls, most of it Korean artists, she recognized from her research. This is your home? One of them. I have an apartment downtown, a house in San Diego, but this is where I come when I need to think, to remember who I am beyond the business. He led her through to a terrace where a table was set for two, candles flickering in the slight breeze, the city sprawling below them like a carpet of lights. This is... Nia didn't have words. It was the most romantic thing anyone had ever done for her, and they weren't even officially dating. It's incredible. I'm glad you like it. Please, sit. He held her chair, poured wine with the same precision he did everything, then settled across from her. I should confess something. I'm nervous. You? Nervous? Nia couldn't help but smile. You literally disarmed a man trying to kill you without breaking a sweat. What could make you nervous? This, you, having dinner with a woman who saved my life and expecting her not to regret it by the end of the night. He took a sip of wine. Usually I know exactly what to say to people, how to read them, manipulate them, give them what they want to hear. But you're different. You don't want anything from me, which means I have to be real. And I haven't been real with anyone in a very long time. The confession was so honest, so vulnerable, that Nia felt her defenses cracking. Then let's both be real. I'll go first. I'm terrified of you, not of what you might do to me, but of what I might feel for you. Because every logical part of my brain says this is a terrible idea, but my heart doesn't care about logic. Lee Jun-young's eyes darkened with something intense. Your turn to confess. Why did you really warn me that day? You could have looked away. Let nature take its course. One less gangster in the world. Because I've seen what violence does to communities. Grew up in Inglewood watching gang wars tear apart families. My brother got caught in crossfire when I was 16. He lived, but he's paralyzed from the waist down now. Changed our entire family. Nia's voice thick with old grief. So when I heard Ricky planning to kill you, all I could think was, this is how it starts. This is how the cycle continues. And maybe if I could stop one death, prevent one act of violence, it would matter. It would mean something. I'm sorry about your brother. Lee Jun-young reached across the table, took her hand. His skin was warm, his touch gentle despite the calluses that spoke of harder work than business deals. And you're right, it does matter. You stopping Ricky saved more than just my life. It prevented a war, because I would have been killed by my own man, blamed on a rival crew, and my people would have retaliated. Dozens could have died. Did you kill him? Ricky? No, I kept my promise to you. His thumb stroked across her knuckles, sending electricity up her arm. I sent him back to Korea with a message for the people who hired him, and I made it very clear that further attempts on my life would result in consequences they couldn't afford. So far, there's been peace. So far. So far, he agreed. That's the best I can offer in my world. Not certainty, just managed chaos. Dinner arrived then, carried out by staff who moved with silent efficiency and disappeared just as quickly. Korean fusion cuisine, each dish more beautiful than the last. They ate and talked, conversation flowing easily now that the initial tension had broken. Nia learned that Lee Jun-young had studied economics at Stanford, spoke 4 languages, played piano, and secretly funded scholarships for underprivileged Korean American students. That his father had built the organization from nothing and died when Jun-young was 23, forcing him to step into a role he'd never wanted. If you could do anything else, Nia asked, if you could walk away from all of this, what would you do? He considered the question seriously. Teach, maybe. Economics or business ethics? He smiled at her expression. Yes, I see the irony. The gangster who wants to teach ethics. But Nia, ethics in my world are complicated. It's not about good versus evil. It's about loyalty versus betrayal, honor versus expediency, survival versus morality. That sounds exhausting. It is, which is why sitting here with you, having a normal conversation about dreams and possibilities, feels like the first real breath I've taken in years. After dinner, he showed her the rest of the house, his library filled with first editions and Korean literature in translation, his music room with a baby grand piano that he played for her, a haunting melody she didn't recognize but felt in her bones, his art studio where half-finished paintings revealed an unexpected talent. You painted these? Nia moved closer to a canvas depicting a dragon mid-flight, all rage and beauty and barely contained violence. Therapy, my sister used to call it. Said I needed an outlet that wasn't violence or business. She was the only one who ever saw these. He stood beside her, close enough that she could feel his heat. Until now. Why me? Why show me all of this? Because when you warned me about Ricky, you saw past what I am to who I might be. And that's been rare in my life. Most people see the dragon tattoo and the reputation, and they never look deeper. But you did. So I want you to see all of it. The good and the bad. The man and the monster. Nia turned to face him, and suddenly they were inches apart, his dark eyes searching hers. What if I can't separate them? What if the man and the monster are the same thing? Then you walk away. I won't stop you. Won't hold a job over your head or use my power to keep you here. Because Nia, as much as I want you to choose me freely, not out of fear or obligation, but because you see who I really am and decide I'm worth the risk. That's a big ask, especially for someone you just met. I know, which is why I'm not asking for an answer tonight. Just asking you to keep getting to know me. Take the job. Let me earn your trust. And maybe eventually earn more than that. He drove her home himself, the bodyguards following in a separate car. They didn't talk much during the drive, but the silence was comfortable. When they pulled up outside her apartment, Lee Jun-young walked her to her door. Thank you for tonight, Nia said, for being honest, for showing me who you are. Thank you for saving my life and for giving me a reason to want to live it differently. He hesitated, then leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he pressed a soft kiss to her cheek. Good night, Nia Morrison. Good night, Lee Jun-young. She watched him drive away, touched her cheek where his lips had been, and knew with absolute certainty that she was already falling. The question was whether he'd catch her or let her crash. Naya accepted the job, started the following Monday, and it was like stepping into a different world. Lee Jun-young, he insisted she call him Jun-young when they were alone, though she struggled with the informality, had already hired a small staff, an accountant, a maintenance supervisor, a lease manager. Naya's job was to coordinate everyone, handle tenant relations, and make sure the building ran smoothly. It was challenging work, but she loved it. Loved having authority and responsibility. Loved that June Young trusted her decisions and backed her up when tenants tried to go over her head. Loved working in an environment where her intelligence was valued and her potential recognized. But loving the job meant seeing June Young regularly. He stopped by the building weekly, ostensibly to check on his investment, but really, she suspected, to see her. They'd have coffee in her new office and discuss business, but the conversation always drifted personal. His childhood in Seoul before moving to LA, her dreams of opening her own cafe, his complicated relationship with his family's legacy, her struggle to balance ambition with the guilt of leaving her old life behind. "You're allowed to grow," he told her one afternoon, sitting across her desk in his perfectly tailored suit. "Staying small doesn't honor the people you came from. It just limits what you can do for them." "Is that what you tell yourself? When you do things your father wouldn't approve of?" His expression darkened. "My father built an empire on violence and fear. I'm trying to transition to legitimate business while keeping my people safe. He'd probably be disappointed I haven't expanded our territory or eliminated more rivals. So yes, I tell myself that evolution isn't betrayal. That becoming something different doesn't erase where I came from. Do you believe it?" "Most days." He leaned forward. "And on the days I don't, I think about you. About a woman brave enough to warn a stranger about danger, principled enough to demand I spare my would-be killer's life, and stubborn enough to build her own path despite every disadvantage. You make me want to be better, Naya. That has to count for something." The moment stretched between them, heavy with possibility. Nya was saved from having to respond by her phone buzzing, an emergency with a burst pipe on the third floor. June Young left, but his words stayed with her. 3 months into her new job, everything fell apart. Nya was working late, reviewing lease agreements in her office, when she heard shouting from the cafe below. She grabbed her phone and hurried downstairs to find Marcus backed against the espresso machine, hands raised, while 3 men in leather jackets ransacked the cafe. "Where's the money?" one of them demanded in accented English. "We know Lee pays protection through here. Where does he keep the cash?" "There is no cash," Marcus's voice shook. "It's all electronic transfers. Direct deposit. I don't—" One of the men backhanded him, and Naya saw red. She stepped into the cafe, phone already dialing. "You have 10 seconds to leave before the police arrive." The men turned and Naya's blood ran cold. They weren't random thugs. They were professionals, and they looked at her with recognition that sent fear spiking through her. "Naya Morrison," the leader said, smiling. "We were hoping you'd show up. See, our boss has a message for Lee Jun-young. He's been encroaching on our territory, disrupting our operations. So we're going to disrupt something he cares about." He moved toward her, and Naya did the only thing she could. She ran. Back through the office, heading for the rear exit, phone pressed to her ear as June Young's number rang. "Naya?" His voice alert despite the late hour. "The cafe. Men breaking in. They know who I am." She burst through the back door into the alley and ran straight into someone's chest. Strong hands grabbed her arms. Another assailant, waiting. "Going somewhere?" The man's grip tightened painfully as he took her phone. "Yeah, boss. We got her. Bringing her to the warehouse now." Naya fought, screaming, kicking, but there were too many of them. A cloth pressed over her mouth and nose, chemical, sweet smell filling her lungs, and the world went fuzzy at the edges. The last thing she heard was June Young's voice from the dropped phone, desperate and furious. "Nia! Enyai!" Then nothing. Nia woke to darkness and pain. Her head pounded, wrists bound behind her back, ankles tied to a chair. She was in what looked like an empty warehouse. Concrete floors and metal rafters, the smell of oil and rust thick in the air. "She's awake," someone said. Footsteps approached, and a man crouched in front of her. Mid-40s, expensive suit, cold eyes. "Miss Morrison, sorry about the dramatic extraction, but Lee Jun-young doesn't respond well to phone calls. He does respond to threats against people he cares about." "I don't know what you want," Nia said, proud that her voice stayed steady despite her fear. "I want Lee to understand that his expansion into Westside operations ends now, that he backs off, pays reparations, and acknowledges our territory, and you're going to help me convince him." "By kidnapping me? That's going to make him back down?" Nia almost laughed. "You don't know him at all." "Oh, I know him. Knew his father. The difference is, his father wouldn't have cared if I took one woman. Business was business. But June Young, he's weak, sentimental. He'll negotiate to get you back. Or he'll burn your entire organization to the ground." Nia met the man's eyes. "You really didn't think this through, did you?" The slap came hard enough to snap her head sideways, blood flooding her mouth from a split lip. Brave words for someone tied to a chair. "Let's see how brave you are in a few hours." He walked away, leaving Nia alone in the darkness, with her fear and her pain, and the absolute certainty that June Young was coming. The only question was whether he'd arrive before these men decided she was more useful dead than alive. Lee Jun-young stood in the ruins of the cafe, phone pressed to his ear, every muscle in his body coiled with barely controlled rage. Around him, his men waited for orders, knowing better than to speak. "I want every resource we have on this," he said, voice deadly calm. "Every contact, every informant, every camera in a 3-block radius. Find out who took her and where they went. You have 30 minutes. His second in command, a woman named Park Ji-hai, stepped forward. "Boss, this has to be Westside Crew. Choi Dae-jung's people. They've been pushing back against our expansion. Then we hit every location they have until someone talks." Jun Young's hand clenched around his phone, the screen cracking under the pressure. "And Ji-hai, I want Dae-jung alive. What I'm going to do to him needs an audience. Boss, if we go to war over one woman, she's not one woman. She's mine." The words came out in a growl that made even Ji-hai step back. "She saved my life when she had no reason to, protected me when it put her in danger. And now she's suffering because people see her as leverage against me. So yes, we're going to war. And anyone who thinks I won't burn this entire city down to get her back can test that theory and find out exactly how wrong they are." His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. A photo of Nia, bound to a chair, blood on her lip, but her eyes fierce and defiant. Below it, "We'll talk soon about terms." Jun Young forwarded the photo to his tech team. "Trace this, now." Then he called the number, and after 3 rings, Choi Dae-jung's smug voice answered. "Lee Jun-young, good to finally talk business." "Where is she?" Every word precise, controlled, the tone of a man barely holding back violence. "Safe, for now. But that can change quickly if you don't agree to my terms. You pull out of Westside operations. You pay us $20 million for damages, and you publicly acknowledge our territory." "Let me make a counteroffer." Jun Young's voice dropped to something cold and terrible. "You release Nia Morrison unharmed within the next hour. You turn yourself in to my people, and I kill you quickly instead of slowly. Those are your options." Dae-jung laughed. "You're not in a position to make demands. I'm in exactly the position to make demands. Because Dae-jung, you made one critical mistake. You took someone I love, and there's no amount of money, no territory, no peace treaty worth more to me than getting her back. So I'm going to find her, and I will find her, and when I do, I'm going to make you wish you'd never heard her name. Big talk for a man whose woman is bleeding in my warehouse. You hit her." Not a question, a statement of fact that vibrated with promise of retribution. Just a love tap, to show you I'm serious. Consider me convinced. And Dae-jung? Know that every second you keep her, every mark you put on her, adds to your suffering when I find you. And I will find you. He hung up as Jihai rushed in. Got the trace. Warehouse in Vernon. Sending the address now. How many men do we have ready? 30, armed, ready to move on your word. Get them. We're ending this tonight. Naya had lost track of time. Could have been an hour, could have been 5. Her wrists were raw from fighting against the zip ties, her mouth dry, her lips still bleeding. The warehouse was quiet except for the 2 guards by the door, speaking in low Korean. Then the lights went out. The guards tensed, pulling weapons, shouting to each other. Nya heard running footsteps outside, gunfire. The sharp crack that sounded different from movies, more real, more final. Someone screamed. Glass shattered. More gunfire, closer now. The warehouse door exploded inward, and Jun Young came through like a force of nature. Black tactical gear, gun in hand, eyes scanning the space until they locked on Naya. Relief flooded his expression for half a second before it hardened back into deadly focus. The 2 guards moved to shoot, but Jun Young was faster. 2 shots, precise and efficient, and both men went down. He was across the warehouse in seconds, dropping to his knees in front of Naya's chair. Are you hurt? His hands were already working on her bindings, gentle despite the urgency. Naya, talk to me. Are you hurt? I'm okay. Just my lip, and my wrists are raw. But I'm okay. She watched his face as he freed her hands, saw the muscle jumping in his jaw, the barely controlled fury in every movement. The moment she was free, he pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. She felt him shaking, felt the rapid beat of his heart against her cheek, felt the wet heat of tears in her hair. I thought I'd lost you, he whispered. When I heard you scream on that phone, when I saw that photo, his voice broke. Naya, I can't lose you. I can't. You didn't. I'm here. I'm safe. She pulled back to look at him, and her breath caught at the raw emotion on his face. No mask, no control, just desperate relief and love so intense it burned. We need to move, Jihai called from the doorway. Police will respond to the gunfire soon. Jun Young helped Naya to her feet, keeping an arm around her waist. Can you walk? Yeah, what about, she gestured to the guards. Dead. They hurt you. That's all the justification I need. No apology, no regret, just cold fact. Da Jung. In the car, Jihai said. Alive like you wanted. Jun Young's smile was terrifying. Good. Nya, I'm going to have Jihai take you home. I need to finish this. Finish. You're going to kill him. Yes. No hesitation. He took you. He hurt you. He threatened what's mine. That doesn't get forgiven, Naya. That gets answered. She should have argued, should have invoked her principles about violence and cycles of revenge. But looking at Jun Young, this man who'd torn through his enemies to save her, who was shaking with relief just to hold her, Naya found she didn't have it in her to ask for mercy. Okay, she said quietly. But Jun Young, come back to me. When it's done, come back. He kissed her then, fierce and claiming, tasting like desperation and promise. Always, I'll always come back to you. Jihai drove Naya to Jun Young's penthouse. Safer than her apartment, she explained, with better security. Nya didn't argue. Just let herself be led inside, accepted the first aid kit and clean clothes, showered until the water ran cold. When she emerged, wrapped in one of Jun Young's shirts that hung to her knees, Jihai was waiting with tea. He really loves you, the older woman said. I've worked for the Lee family for 15 years. Never seen him lose control like tonight. Is that bad? Depends on your perspective. For his enemies? Absolutely. For his organization? Potentially. Love makes you vulnerable, makes you predictable. But for Jun Young personally? Jihai smiled slightly. I think it might save him. Give him something to live for besides duty and revenge. You think I'm good for him? I think you make him want to be better. That's more than anyone else has done. Jun Young returned 3 hours later, Just as dawn was breaking over the city, Nia was curled up on his couch, trying to read but mostly just staring at the door. When it opened, she launched herself at him. He caught her, buried his face in her hair. It's done. Daejong's dead. His organization is scattered. The threat is over. Good. She pulled back to look at him. Are you okay? I tortured and killed a man tonight. I should not be okay. But his eyes were clear, no regret in them. But I am, because you're safe. Because the people who hurt you paid the price. Because in my world, that's justice. That's the world you live in. Naya touched his face. This beautiful, dangerous man who'd killed for her. But you don't have to live in it alone anymore. If you'll have me. Nya, I bought a building because you worked there. I started a war because someone took you. I would burn this entire city if it meant keeping you safe. The question isn't if I'll have you. It's if you'll have me, knowing exactly what that means. It means loving someone complicated, someone with blood on his hands and darkness in his past. Someone who's trying to be better but might never be good. She smiled. I can live with that. Can you live with loving someone who'll challenge you, who won't be kept in a gilded cage, who insists you keep trying to be better even when it's hard? I can live with that. He kissed her softly, carefully, like she was precious. I can live with anything as long as you're in my life. They stood there as the sun rose, two people from different worlds who'd found something worth fighting for in each other. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was complicated and dangerous, and definitely not what either of them had planned, but it was theirs. 6 months later, Naya stood in the property management office, now expanded to cover 5 buildings, and reviewed the quarterly reports. Business was thriving, tenants were happy, and she was good at this, building something meaningful with the opportunity Jun Young had given her. Working late again? Jun Young appeared in her doorway, jacket off, tie loosened, looking tired but content. Says the man who just came from a 12-hour negotiation. She stood, moving into his arms automatically. How'd it go? Successfully. We finalized the sale of our last illegal operation. As of midnight tonight, the Lee organization is entirely legitimate. Import-export, real estate, investment portfolios, all legal, all clean. Nya pulled back to look at him. You did it. You actually did it. We did it. You gave me a reason to want something different, to believe I could be more than my father's legacy. He pulled a small box from his pocket, and Nia's heart stopped. Jun Young? Nia Morrison, you saved my life in a cafe 6 months ago. Then you saved it again by showing me what it could be. Something worth living for, not just surviving through. I love you. I want to build a life with you, a real life, legal and safe and full of the future we both deserve. He opened the box, revealing a ring, simple, elegant, perfect. Will you marry me? Yes. No hesitation. Absolutely yes. He slid the ring on her finger, kissed her like he'd never let her go, and Naya thought about how saving one life had transformed two. How warning a stranger about danger had led her to love. How sometimes the most dangerous decisions were also the most right. I have one condition, she said against his lips. Anything. The cafe, I want to buy it from you. Run it myself. Build something that's entirely mine. His smile was proud and loving, and without a trace of the dragon everyone feared. It's already yours. I transferred ownership this morning. Early wedding present. You're impossible. I'm in love. There's a difference. He kissed her again. Besides, I can't have my wife working for me. Conflict of interest. Your wife, Naya tested the words. I like how that sounds. So do I, though I should warn you, my family is going to have opinions, and the Korean community, and probably everyone who has thoughts about interracial relationships and reform criminals, and I don't care. Nia was fierce. Let them talk. We know who we are, what we built. That's enough. You're extraordinary, you know that? I'm just a waitress who refused to watch someone die. No, You're the woman who saw past the dragon to the man underneath, who demanded I be better and then loved me through the process of becoming it. You're my salvation, Naya, my redemption, my everything. They stood in her office, their building, their life, and kissed while the city moved around them. Two people who'd found love in the most unlikely place, built from a moment of courage and a whispered warning. Later, much later, Naya would tell people that she'd saved Lee Jun-young's life that day in the cafe. But the truth was more complicated. Yes, she'd warned him about the gun, but he'd saved her too, from a life of settling, from dreams deferred, from never knowing what she was capable of becoming. They'd saved each other. And that, Naya thought as Jun-young led her out into the night, his hand warm in hers, his future intertwined with her own, was the best kind of love story. Not perfect, not easy, but real and hard-won, and absolutely worth every risk. Epilogue. 1 year later. The cafe's grand reopening drew a crowd. Naya had renovated completely, updated equipment, expanded seating, new menu featuring Korean-American fusion. But she'd kept the name, Moonlight Brew, where it all began. Jun-young stood at the back, watching his wife move through the space she'd made her own, greeting customers and directing staff with confidence and grace. His ring matched hers now, simple bands that marked them as each other's. She's good at this, Ji-hai said, appearing at his elbow. Better than good. She has a gift for making people feel welcome. She does. Pride swelled in Jun-young's chest, and she did it herself. No help from me beyond the initial building purchase, which she bought from you at market value, I noticed. She insisted, said she wouldn't build her dream on my money. He smiled. Stubborn woman. But that's why you love her. One of many reasons. Naya caught his eye across the cafe, smiled that brilliant smile that still took his breath away, and gestured for him to join her. He moved through the crowd, accepting congratulations from people who'd watched their relationship develop, who'd seen the dragon of Koreatown transform into something gentler without losing his strength. When he reached Naya, she pulled him close. Thank you for coming, she said. I know these events aren't your favorite. Anywhere you are is my favorite place. He kissed her temple. I'm proud of you, of everything you've built. We built it, together. Your support, your belief in me, that made this possible. No, you made this possible. I just loved you while you did it. Naya laughed, the sound full of joy and freedom. Well, keep doing that. It's working out pretty well. Later, after the last customer had left and the staff had gone home, they sat together in the empty cafe, the same space where Naya had warned him about the gun, where she'd saved his life and, without knowing it, claimed his heart. Do you ever regret it? Jun-young asked. Choosing me? This life? Never. Nya was immediate, certain. Do you? Leaving the life you knew? I didn't leave it. I transformed it into something better. And that's all because of you. He pulled her onto his lap, wrapped his arms around her waist. You warned me that day. Don't go. Your driver has a gun. But Naya, you saved me from more than just a bullet. You saved me from a life without purpose, without love, without hope for something better. Pretty dramatic, Mr. Lee. I'm Korean. Drama is genetic. He kissed her neck, smiling against her skin. But I mean it. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Second best, Naya corrected, grinning. The best thing was that idiot Ricky giving us an excuse to meet. Jun-young laughed, real and unguarded. Should I send him a thank you card in prison? Let's not get carried away. She turned in his arms, facing him. But seriously, Jun-young, I love you. I love the life we're building. And I can't wait to see what comes next. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Together, she agreed. They kissed in the cafe where their story began. Two people who'd found each other across impossible distances. A waitress and a gangster. A warning and a rescue. A love story that defied logic and expectations. But then again, the best love stories always do. Outside, the city moved on, unaware that in a small cafe in Koreatown, two people had found something rare and precious, had taken violence and fear and transformed it into love and hope, had proven that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is also the most right. Don't go, your driver has a gun. 5 words that changed everything. 5 words that saved a life and started a love story. 5 words that prove that courage, in whatever form it takes, always matters.